I want to talk about creatine today. There's some things that people don't really know about creatine, and I wanted to give a brief explanation. This is not going to be a very long video, but it should be very helpful if you like pre-workout supplements and creatine. So the main creatine that dominates the market is called creatine monohydrate, and that's the main creatine that people are using. I don't understand why that's the creatine that they're pushing to people because it's not a very effective creatine. The creatine monohydrate, you have the creatine and you have sodium. When you take it, it breaks apart and you receive the sodium. You get very little of the creatine. As soon as you take it, it breaks down really fast and your body absorbs mostly sodium. You get very little of the creatine. There are other effective creatines that are on the market, but people don't really know much about. I'm sure there's a lot of people that probably do know about it, but most people don't. One of them is called creatine crealkaline. So the creatine crealkaline is actually buffered to where it will stay intact for a lot longer compared to the creatine monohydrate. I was told it would stay intact for about 24 hours. That may not be exact, but with the creatine crealkaline, you are actually going to get the creatine in your system instead of receiving water retention. The creatine crealkaline does not have water retention. There are a couple other creatines like creatine ethyl ester and creatine methyl ester, which I don't really see too much on the market anymore, but those are two other creatines that are buffered to where they are far superior to the creatine monohydrate, but there's a little bit of water retention with those two. It's still good, but I wouldn't say it's as good as the creatine crealkaline. That's just my personal opinion because the creatine crealkaline has no water retention at all. With the creatine monohydrate, people often think, yeah, this stuff works when they're putting on size, but they're really not. It's just water retention. They're getting all puffed up. And there is an aspect of the placebo effect at times when you take something and you have this idea in your head that you're putting something in your body that is meant to help you. So you kind of psych yourself out into thinking that it's doing something when really it's not. Now, when you have the superior creatines, like the creatine crealkaline or the other two, then you're actually going to get the effect of the creatine instead of just getting the retention of the water and the possible placebo effect. There is the idea of when you're putting something in your body that is meant to help you and assist you in a workout, similar to the placebo effect, it's like you know you're putting something in your body. So you're going to train a little bit stronger and harder just because of the mental effect that it has on you. But when you know that you're putting something in your body that is superior to something that does not have the effect that it's supposed to have, then I'm not really sure if you would qualify that as the placebo effect, but it is something similar. And to be honest, you really don't need any creatine at all. If you have a healthy diet, you could go into the gym and get really good workouts without having any pre workout supplement at all. The problem with having pre workout supplements, when you take them, what I experienced was when I went to the gym, I needed to take that pre workout supplement. Otherwise, I would feel weak. I would feel drained of energy. I would not feel motivated. But if I took the pre workout supplement, then I would get a little bit excited to work out. And I do understand that that's because they have caffeine in these pre workout supplements. So, in the pre workout supplements, the two main things I would say are the creatine and the caffeine. Also, like arginine, for example, for nitric oxide for the pump, it's a vasodilator. They often have that in there too. I know once you get into the more advanced creatine matrices, they have a lot of stuff in it. But just to keep it very basic, The two main functions in the creatine pre-workout supplements are from the creatine and the caffeine. The reason for the caffeine is it helps your body get jump started. And I will talk a little bit about caffeine. So eventually, one of my friends had mentioned to me that he heard that if you stop drinking caffeine, you will have more energy. So that really sparked my interest. And I started looking into it a little bit, and there's not really much info that I found other than they said your energy will soar when you stop taking caffeine. So I gave it a few tries quitting caffeine, and it only took about 3 tries to quit caffeine. Eventually, I got the idea that, hey, I need to try this. I need to quit drinking caffeine because at one time I was drinking cups of coffee throughout the day, chasing after some type of stimulation, high, or energy, and it may have lasted for half an hour, 15 minutes, a few minutes. The more you drink of it, the less of an effect it has. So eventually I calmed down quite a bit and would only drink 1 or 2 cups of coffee a day. Eventually I got to the point where I was drinking it just when I woke up. And when I woke up in the morning, I felt terrible. I felt lacking energy. I felt in a bad mood. I felt like I needed my coffee to get my day started. So that was the first thing I would do is drink coffee in the morning, and then I would get my day started. So to move forward and move away from using caffeine or coffee, it was a great effect once I was successful. And once I got to about maybe 5 days, if I had to estimate, it started feeling really, really, really good just to wake up feeling good naturally, not needing the coffee, not needing the caffeine. And the more time that went by, the more my energy got better. I ended up with way more energy naturally without the coffee, without the caffeine, without the sodas, completely cutting out sodas and switching over to water was a big improvement. Not only did it save me money from spending money on sodas, sodas are really bad for you. It's really, really good for you just to drink water. Whether you drink regular soda or diet soda, people say that diet soda is way worse for you, that you should drink regular soda if you're going to drink it. But even better is to avoid soda altogether. Water is way more affordable and way better for you. You could buy bottled water, and it's still not going to be too costly. It's going to cost a little bit of money if you're buying the good kind, but it's a lot better for you. Even filtered water is better than drinking sodas. And to be honest, I would still slip up every now and then and look at a soda and say, or think, that looks kind of good. I'm going to try that. And the more I moved away from drinking sodas and had these cravings for water and got used to drinking water, just about every time I would try a soda, I would take a drink from it and think, wow, that didn't even taste good. What was I thinking? Why did I have this idea in my head built up that that was going to be like some fantastic flavor? It wasn't really that great. So once you move away from the unhealthy things and start eating healthy and start drinking healthy, and when I say drinking healthy, I just mean drinking water. Um, Even juices you have to be careful about because they are just sugar. And I know sugars themselves are not really bad for you because carbs are sugar, simple or complex. Whatever your aims are, whatever you're trying to do, generally they say complex carbs are better for you because they are more of a sustained release. But I do think that simple sugars have their values too. I just don't consume too much of them. Um, so getting back to the caffeine habit, when I stopped doing the caffeine, the more I got away from the initial day that I stopped drinking coffee, the more my energy got better and better. So it's not even hard to resist drinking coffee or caffeine anymore. Every now and then I'll still have a craving for a soda, but when I try it, it's just a big disappointment. So it's a really good thing to move away from these bad habits that we really don't need. They're a waste of money and they're bad for our health. So the reason why I'm explaining all this is because I'm lifting natural now, no pre-workout supplements, no steroids, and I'm getting really good workouts. I've been making my own workout up and using some of the knowledge I've gained from studying bodybuilding in the past. And I eventually found out that you don't have to do a whole bunch of sets. You don't have to train a whole bunch of days throughout the week. Like right now, for example, the routine that I'm doing, I've been training for about 2 months and I'm only training twice a week, but I'm making really good progress. I'm excited to go to the gym. It's really fun. It's really enjoyable to go in there and work out for 30 or 40 minutes and be completely done with everything. And to be honest, by the time the workout is over, I'm thinking, I don't even feel like I'm finished. I feel like I could do more. But I know I do need to stop. And it's hard to do because when you work out like I used to work out, we're used to doing those 1 to 2 hour workouts where you're doing 4 to 5 sets of heavy weight. Lately, I've been using moderate weight and using a form of progressive overload where I typically started with a weight that I could do about 50 times, and I would do it all straight in one set. And to make sure that I'm making progress, I carry a clipboard with me and I write the weight down and I write the reps. And I only do one set, and it's supposed to be close to failure. I know some people say that going to failure is good, but I've also heard that going close to failure is beneficial as well, because if you go to failure completely, there may be a little bit more detrimental effect on the recovery. So some people say that it's good to have a few left in reserve when you're doing a set or set close to failure. So the way that you make progress with this workout is you track your results, and each week you go in, you aim to do at least 5 more reps. It may not sound like a lot, but it eventually gets higher and higher and harder and harder. And then sometimes you can do a whole bunch more reps. So it's been really enjoyable to me. I'm not in a super big rush to get huge fast, but you're still going to be raising the weight because what I've been hoping to do is every time I get to 100 reps, I want to raise the weight maybe one plate or slightly, depending on whatever I'm doing. And it's been really enjoyable so far. I've only been doing it for about 2 months, but I'm hoping to do it for a whole year and see where it goes. I know people say all different kinds of things like you have to lift big, or if you lift too light, your muscles are going to get smaller. There's all kinds of ideas that people have. But what I noticed is, like I was mentioning earlier, when you do this workout, you don't really feel like you're done at the end. But then once you're done and you go sit down or you go home, maybe if I had to estimate, maybe 30 minutes after or shortly after, you really start to feel it. Really start to feel tired and exhausted. Sometimes I feel sore even within a few hours to maybe 6 hours. Um, I've never experienced that using the heavy sets and the multiple sets. Usually, when I do that, I'm not sore until the next day, and even more sore sometimes the following day. But what I've heard about that is I I was listening to Mike Menser, and when you're listening to these bodybuilders from a while back, not all of their stuff is completely accurate. Even some of Arnold's stuff is not accurate, but they were still professionals. They were some of the best of their time. So they still have some good content that you can learn from. Um, Nowadays, we have scientists that study bodybuilding and also sell supplements and stuff. So I never really know what I should listen to when they're saying stuff, but sometimes they say stuff that is really helpful or they help you give a perspective that you didn't have before. So I don't want to go too far into who's right or who's wrong about what. But one thing that Mike Menser was talking about was that people were overtraining, and we don't really need to basically destroy ourselves when we go to the gym. He was basically saying that people were overtraining, and his training routine was the high intensity, where he would just do one set of high weight or heavy weight until failure, or typically 10 to 12 reps around there somewhere, but doing it to failure. So he would only do one set, but he recommended also that you would do two sets per muscle group, since when you do different exercises, it does different parts of the muscle. So figuring out what two sets you want to do, I would say, is essential. You can design a workout to where you're only going to the gym twice a week and you're doing your full routine. If you want to spread it out even further, you could do it in a 2 week period where you're doing your full routine with 4 training days. The thing about training is when you train one muscle group and you do the other muscle group the next day, and then another muscle group the next day, one thought on that is you're really not giving your whole body time to rest. One thought about this is when you train, you need to give your body some rest days. You can train different body parts consecutively, but you're not going to have any rest days in between there. And the muscles are going to recover to a certain extent. But if you have a full rest day or full multiple consecutive rest days in between workouts, I believe that you will have a better recovery and have more rest. People may disagree on this, but I'm trying this right now and it's working out really good. So this is just something that I'm trying out and I really like it. So I don't really think there's one way to do things when you do things. You can oftentimes do what works for you, but also there are some general things that are true. So I think things, when it comes down to it, it's finding out what works for you, hearing people out, what kind of tips they have. But a big thing about advice is someone can give you good advice or someone can give you bad advice. You could be going one way, and if someone gives you bad advice, they're going to completely alter your trajectory. So I don't want to talk too much about general wisdom or whatever, but you have to be careful with what you listen to. Thing about when you're watching these bodybuilders talk about things or watching videos, learning things, one thing that Bruce Lee said in his philosophy of Jeet Kune Do was you apply what is useful, discard what is useless, add what is your own. So you can pick and choose what you want to do and get rid of what you don't need or what you don't find effective. So it's pretty much you designing what you want to do and you can go from there. Um, yeah, I've had a lot of fun bodybuilding, lifting weights over the years. One of the things that I found is very important is when you go in there, you have to be serious about it and you have to really pump the reps out. You have to get into it. You can't go in there half hearted. You have to go in there with the mentality that you like this, you want to make progress, you want to have fun, And this is one of the things that you really like doing. So you just have to eat healthy and have good habits. Absolutely do not do drugs or alcohol. No drugs, no alcohol, no cigarettes. And as I was saying earlier, caffeine is something you can avoid too, but the other things are just going to hold you back and destroy your body and mind. So, as far as drugs go, a big thing in the bodybuilding world today is if someone is natural or if they're on gear or as they used to call it, juicing. Um, I'm just going to be honest. I have tried Dianabol before and I took one cycle. It was not a stack. I just took the Dianabol by itself. And I believe I may have taken it maybe 1 or 2 months. And I felt it the first day I went in there. So I continued to take it and I had a goal. I wanted to be able to do 305, I believe. And by the time the cycle was over, I easily did that. I did it 10 times, 2 sets of 5, and I was able to build up to it relatively easy. So when I took it, I noticed that I was stronger. I had more capability to lift weights, and it gave me kind of a feeling of this like strength and energy that I didn't usually have. But I'm not upset that I took it. I don't regret it because at least I had the experience and I know what it's like. And now I know that I really don't need it. So I'm completely natural now, but I do know why people do it. And I only took one. It was Dianabol, like kind similar to Arnold, what he used to take. I'm not sure if it was the exact same kind, but you can actually obtain certain steroids legally. Um, but I was told that it's a personal choice. But at the same time, those things cost money and there is kind of a stigma behind it. Personally, I'd rather be natural because I am a drug-free person now. Um, I struggled with addiction for many years. I was addicted to drugs and alcohol and cigarettes for about 20 years. But earlier on, I got into bodybuilding. My friend showed me some things and I really liked it. The issue was while I was addicted to drugs, it was kind of like a back and forth thing where I was not able to make the progress I wanted to when I was bodybuilding because I would have these periods of lifting weights and making progress and then going back to drugs. And it was just a back and forth cycle of not really getting the progress that I wanted. Um, Now that I am completely drug free, completely done forever, I'm having so much more enjoyment doing bodybuilding. It's so fun. I have some injuries. That's why I'm using moderate weights right now, but I'm still making a lot of progress. And even then, with this new workout routine, it's completely doable, even with a few injuries. My shoulder's injured, my back is injured, and my foot is injured. But I've been doing some stretches and trying to take care of myself, and I know I need to lose weight. I'm a little bit overweight right now, kind of a lot. Um, I'm about 275. At the most, I was about 330. I was actually only 180 before I was arrested and went to jail and prison. So when I went in there, I was actually starved for food because of my habits and my lifestyle. And I was going around asking people for bread, eating lots of bread all throughout the day. And I put on 100 pounds within 10 months. And after that, it was very difficult to get rid of the weight. Um, I actually gained more weight when I got out of prison because I was eating good food at home again and I was pretty much going out of control, eating extra portions and just enjoying myself. But I really paid the price because I gained a lot of weight. I made it all the way up to 330. And then eventually I started dieting, learning how to diet, learning about nutrition. Um, I know when you want to lose weight, you don't even need to exercise or work out. All you need is to be in a calorie deficit. But there are more aspects to a diet. You have to have a calorie deficit, you have to eat healthy, and you have to be consistent. If you're lacking those three things, any one of those three things, excuse me, you're going to either not lose weight, you're not going to be healthy or have the energy you need, or you're not going to make the progress as efficiently as you would if you had those three things: being in a calorie deficit, eating healthy, and being consistent. Consistency is very important because when you have day after day after day of successful dieting, you're going to make progress in losing weight. But if you have a day here or there messing up, it could completely throw you off and halt your progress and change your habits. Getting back into gear and amending your habits can oftentimes be a hard thing to do. And I'm still learning how to have the discipline of dieting, and now that I'm training again, it's really fulfilling to go to the gym and make this progress. It feels great. And also to eat healthy, it's way different. It's different than anything I've ever experienced. So yeah, I think dieting is very important. Training is important. Stretching is important, and resting is important, and sleep is important. There's a lot of factors involved that I never really used to consider, but it's really fun to make this progress. And I know I started talking about creatine, but started talking about other things too. But I know this is all related stuff, and I know I shared some of my stories. So I really enjoy bodybuilding and health and nutrition and knowledge and all kinds of stuff like that. So this is my first video. I just wanted to share with you and see what you thought about it. Please comment what you think about these things. I would appreciate your feedback. Thank you.